From Cleveland, Ohio, it's the Barbecue Central Show on the Barbecue Central Radio Network.
All right, welcome to After Dark. Yeah. This is the Barbecue Central Radio Show. This is the Barbecue Central Show After Dark. Joining me here in just a few seconds is going to be Gary Notley from Notley Q. I believe he's on the line right now. Don't forget, if you want to take part, you can do it Pal Talk. Go to thebbqcentralshow.com and log in for a free account right there if you want to do that. Or if you want to go ahead and call in for a question with Gary, I'm sure he'll be happy to take calls, 216-220-0966. You can also email bbqcentralradio@gmail.com. All right, let's go. Let's go here. He's not holding very well. That's basically what I'm saying here, folks. All right, let's go. Let's go to the hotline. Joining me now, pitmaster of Notley Q, Gary Notley. Gary, how are you tonight? How you doing, Gary? Hey.
Good. How you doing?
I'm doing very well. I forgot to tell you just to pick up the phone and hang there until I introduced you. Sorry about that.
Oh, it's okay. Sorry.
We're a little bit more relaxed here. Now we're after dark. So
okay.
It's 10 o'clock here, Eastern Standard Time, little earlier where you are, about 7 o'clock or so. And lots to talk about here. Again, if you want to take some, if Gary is so inclined, you can take calls, 216-220-0966. You can also do it through Pal Talk. You can email bbqcentralradio@gmail.com. Now, Gary, before we get into the show, it's probably best to kind of get your history of how you actually got interested, not necessarily even in competition barbecue, but who infects you with the barbecue bug?
I really enjoyed the taste of really good barbecue, and we had what I thought was an awesome barbecue restaurant down here in San Diego. But the prices just got out of hand, and I got a smoker as a corporate gift from a company I worked for, a little Brinkman, and I thought, hey, I can do this, and I started making ribs and chicken in my backyard, and everybody loved it, and then I was just hooked. It was like a form of meditation for me. It had nothing to do at first about the barbecue. It was just I loved cooking, and then it became just this incredible hobby, passion, love affair that just grew on me that I never expected.
So when did you take the step into competing? Was it somebody invited you to tag around with them, or did you just see one pop up?
There was a team out here in California had placed a call out on the California Barbecue Association saying that he needed somebody to cook chicken and ribs at a contest we had in about Central California. So I said, hey, I got told by all my friends and neighbors that my stuff was the best, and I entered the contest with them, and I didn't place last in either of my meets, and we didn't place last. And I had so much fun and met so many amazing people that I decided that was going to be my hobby for the rest of my life.
So when did Notley Q competition cooking team come into being?
2001, right after that contest, I decided to go out on my own, and the name came about. I was searching for names, and it just struck me, hey, my name, everyone would always make fun of my name, calling me Motley Crue growing up, right. And I was just, hey, Notley Q. It just fits, and it stuck.
It's barbecue and kismet.
So what was that?
I said it's barbecue kismet.
Yeah, it is, because it doesn't work with anybody else's. You can't be Johnson Q, or, it doesn't have that ring that Notley Q does.
No, absolutely. It's a very, very
And I'll never
cool.
have the problem of somebody calling their team name the same as mine.
The only thing that could possibly be better is if Notley Q was somehow anointed as the traveling barbecue pitmaster of Motley Crue's tour.
That would be good. That's the one heavy metal band I haven't cooked for yet, and I can't wait to cook for them.
I can't imagine that Motley Q wouldn't be eating Notley Q, ASAFP.
I know.
All right, so when you actually got onto the competition trail, is it all KCBS stuff? Did you dabble in any other organizations?
Out here, we do KCBS and we do IBCA, and it was 50-50 at the time. I would concentrate more on the I would concentrate on both. But as I progressed and got better and better, I love the IBCA, but there's just something about the KCBS that just is head and shoulders above. And since I've discovered the Memphis Barbecue Network, I fell in love with that. I wish we would have Memphis Barbecue Network contests out in California.
So how would you rank them from 1 to 3 then?
KCBS number 1, Memphis number 2, IBCA number 3.
Is IBCA lower on the rank because of how the judging process is and how there doesn't have to be garnish and how some kind of consider it to be I don't want to say a celebrity judged thing, but people are just kind of walking off the street, and it is what tastes best to that group versus having quote unquote trained judges taste your barbecue.
Yeah, there's certain aspects, I like the no garnish. It's really good, especially for new teams, because you're judging on the meat. I don't like that, all of a sudden it could be a bunch of firemen or a bunch of policemen or a bunch of, local celebrities that might like their stuff super spicy or super sweet, and you don't know what your judging pool is, and it makes it more difficult to be successful at it. I fell in love with the Memphis network because I like the showmanship. I like, the dog and pony shows, they call it. But I just love the fact that not only is there a blind judging, but you got to impress someone too, because I really like that. Like out in California, we do a lot of People's Choice where you give out 2-ounce samples, and I love interacting with the crowd. And then so that's why I immediately fell in love with the MBN.
We're talking with Gary Notley. He is the pitmaster of Notley Q. You can find out more about him at Notley, Notleyq, Q-U-E, NotleyQ.com. So if we can stay on the KCBS here, I've been reading through the KCBS website and hearing some musings around my minions that make their way around the insides of barbecue bellies that this could be the year that KCBS allows gas-powered or gas-fired cookers into the mix. Is that something that scares you, or at this point, due to all of the automation such as the barbecue gurus and the stokers and the pellet-fired cookers that have all these thermostats, isn't that almost tantamount to like having gas-fired cookers in there anyway?
It at the end of the day, it's the best meat. If some guy on a gas grill can cook ribs better than mine, congratulations, give them the first place prize. It's, to me, it's cooking, it's barbecue. There is money involved, but let's get everyone out there. I have no problem. If they told me tomorrow I couldn't use my Guru anymore, I'd be fine with it. It's let's compete against the best. If some guy wants to come out with a gas-fired grill and thinks that he can produce as good barbecue as someone on a Jambo or a WSM or a Spice Wine, come on out. Let's see if you can. And if you can, congratulations. So it doesn't bother me. There's the purists out there. Then you'll always have that in no matter what form of entertainment you do. But, it's just, let's just all cook. That's how I see it.
Yeah, and it seems, and I agree with the purists, and I would guess if you look at the demographics of who belongs to the KCBS, and if I'm making this assumption right, you look like a younger guy on television, maybe mid-30s or so, maybe younger. Yeah. The guys that are in the KCBS that have staunched their boots in their, probably in their 50s or above or late 40s and above, and are more of the, the mention of gas cookers really infuriates them, and they say that it goes away from how the KCBS was built and grown from. If you had your druthers, how would you make the KCBS? Would you take everything away and strip it back down to logs only, or would you just really want to open it up to everybody and just have it be a best cook contest?
I would like to open it up and have it be a best cook contest. It's like, it's 2010. Everything's advancing. Cooking techniques are advancing. Flavor profiles are advancing. 5 years ago, did anybody know about Wagyu brisket? And now it's the talk of the town. Like, things evolve. Like pork. We're going back to where, we're paying more money for fatty pork than we used to because they bred it out. And it's just, everything's evolving. And you can go back to holes in the ground and cooking your pig over a hole in the ground. That's cool. I dig purists. That's cool. But we're 2010, and there's a new generation of us coming out that embraces the technology, loves the technology. It's still, you're not guaranteed to win. You're not guaranteed to win with a Guru. You're not guaranteed to win with a Jambo. You're not guaranteed to win with Wagyu. It's still a very hard sport we do, that having all these extra gizmos doesn't necessarily make you a better cook. It just makes you a guy with more gizmos. You still have to be a good cook at the end of the day.
He's Gary Notley, pitmaster of NotleyQ. NotleyQ.com is his website. So that's kind of a good transition to kind of get into the show portion of this interview. And, I wanted to have you on, and certainly I'm looking to kind of have the original 7 cast members on here, especially now that the season's over and there might be a little bit more free time. Nobody seems to know as of yet if there is a season 2. I had John Markus on last week, and at that point he was not able to confirm any type of official green light. But you have, a unique perspective. You're a pit master of your own. You have your own competition barbecue team, but for the people that don't know you and got to know you through the show, you were part of Harry Sue's Slap Yo Daddy barbecue competition cooking team. So question number 1 is, how did it work with Harry? And did he approach you because John Markus asked him if he wanted to be in, and then he's like, well, I would like to get some good guys around me, so he approaches you to be on the team? Or does John Markus approach you to be on Harry's team? How does that all set up?
Harry and I have been barbecue brothers and nemesis since the first day he started. We've always competed against each other. But I have Harry help me sometimes on some higher profile catering gigs I do out here in California. And he had told me the story that he got asked from John Markus to be on this show. And Harry, being an IT guy, where he has to be at his job Monday to Friday, he couldn't fathom how he was going to be able to go on the road and do this television show. And over the course of the next hour, I said to him, let me talk to my wife. I can put my catering business on hold and do this for you. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Not only do you get to be on the show, but I get to travel the country and see places I maybe never see again. Within 2 hours, I became the honorary roadie of Slap Your Daddy Barbecue. It was just, I just had to get the okay, and we finalized everything that I would drive him from town to town, and he would fly in.
So he's flying in like the rock star.
Yeah, he was the rock star. He would fly in, he would drive 2 hours to the contest, and I would drive 17 hours, 18 hours from city to city.
Man, ball buster, right?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. So, one of the questions that I've meant to ask Leanne Wippenmeyer, Mix, and John Markus, and I've just never gotten around to it for whatever reason, you could probably answer this. The 7 original cast members that are here on the show that just ended on TLC, were these teams compensated by the show at all, or are they doing this all on their own dime and just FaceTime is enough compensation for them? I
know that they were giving some sort of compensation from the studio. How much? I don't know. I wasn't a part of that. I didn't receive any compensation for my appearance. I know that they took care of expenses and like entry fees, but like meats and all that, they were all on their own for that. But I do know that they were compensated. How much? I don't know that aspect.
And do you have any inside knowledge as to what's going to be happening with a potential season 2 or anything like that yet?
I talked. I haven't heard. I'm on the fence. I want to be part of season 2. I want there to be a season 2. I was at one of the producers' homes a couple weeks ago in Los Angeles. He doesn't know. It's all up in the air right now. We're hoping. I heard the ratings were decent, but you never know with television. I'm keeping my fingers crossed just like everybody else. I love the show. As much as being a part of it, I loved watching the show. So that's why I want a second season. I can't be on it just to watch it.
Gotcha. And we're talking with Gary Notley from NotleyQ. NotleyQ.com is his website. I talked to John Markus about this last week, and here's my take on the show. Certainly the people that are knowledgeable or that follow the barbecue competition circuit or have a passion for barbecue, we're not going to make the show a success because we watch it.
Correct.
people that make this show a success are the people that watch TLC because it's one of their favorite broadcasting networks, and they just happen to be watching at 10 o'clock, and then they see the barbecue show, and hopefully they fall in love with what it's all about. Now, and I couldn't get a straight answer out of this. Do you know if there was a season 2, would they be returning the cast member from season 1, or would they be recasting for season 2?
I have no idea. I would think that they would keep most of the cast, like as a TV viewer and enjoyer. I don't want to see a whole new mix of people come in. I would love to see Myron and Johnny on there, and Jamie and Harry. It's like they're all unique. They're like, I love every one of those people, so I wouldn't want to see any one of them not be there. I hope it's the same cast. It's just like all those other shows, like these reality docudrama shows. You fall in love with the characters. Like, I'm not a big fan of cakes, wedding cakes, Sweet 16 cakes, but darn it, I love those cake shows, and it's because of the people. And my son and I have developed a following watching these cake shows, and we have our favorite cake designers. And when it's all new people, we don't like it. So I hope they keep the majority of the cast.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that. And while I wasn't given an answer specifically, my thought was, the show isn't set up where if they're not returning at least the majority of cast members, the show runs into that gray area of where reality TV goes off and dies. It's not a competition that's set up to win, $250 or $500 or $1 million like a Survivor or Big Brother is. Conversely, it's not set up like a John and Kate +8 or that midget show. And I'm allowed to say midget because we're not FCC regulated. And if you're a midget, that's all right. Don't worry about it. Midgets are great, but you're loving their particular trials and tribulations of life, and you're watching because of them. Or you can change out. Conversely, you can change out the cast every year or every season, or it seems like every week on Survivor, because you want to see how somebody's going to play that game in order to win that money. So you're not invested in the same group of people competing over and over again, because there's going to be competition, and why they're competing is a totally different thing. So my thought was, if they're not carrying over, there's a potential gray area where the show could ultimately fail in a season 2 if it was brought up. But we'll see how that ultimately works out. So again, we're talking with Gary Notley from Notley Q. His website is notleyq.com. So when you and Harry teamed up, did it take a while to get used to having cameras around you all the time, or is that something you got pretty comfortable with pretty quick?
At first, I would say it took me about an hour to get used to it, and then they were like, you rarely noticed that they were there. Like when we first arrived in, I was cooking Notley Q in Mesquite, so I wasn't a part of the filming. I was concentrating on the contest. But when I arrived, and I think it was Decatur, Alabama, and then as soon as you get out of the vehicle, you have the cameras there, and they're like, oh, you got to take off your hat because that has a logo on it. And I'm like, you know what? I just drove 16 hours, and I kind of had my arms crossed. But then I started talking to the crew, and they were the greatest. I've never met a greater group of people in my life than the crew from Pitmasters, and I warmed up to them immediately, and it was like that the cameras weren't even there. It was strange.
Most embarrassing moment caught on tape?
Well, they have the one where my pants had almost fallen down, but to me the most embarrassing thing caught on tape is when I'm in my episode, when they had me doing my pork box and I didn't have my gloves on.
Damn it. I was going to mention that.
When they showed that up on the big screen, I was like, oh, I'm going to get hell on the Brethren forum for that.
So, what gives? What the hell?
I just didn't have them on.
Weren't your hands burning from hot pork?
I have no feelings in my hands anymore from pulling hot pork.
You have the, what do they call that? The what's the name of that stuff that's fireproof that I can't think of right now?
Silicone?
Not silicone, but it doesn't matter.
Asbestos?
Yeah, you have asbestos hands, no doubt.
Yeah.
So from all the footage that they got, and then you see it every Thursday. From what I was told, you were seeing it new with all the other cast members, new every Thursday, all the new episodes. How much change from all the footage that they got at any particular contest to what they packaged up in the 45 minutes? And did it stay fairly true to what they shot the majority of the time?
They would shoot, from what they told me, about 150 hours and weasel that down into 45 minutes. Like, every team had their own camera crew. And when I watched the first episode, I was blown away how they pieced it together. And it's true. Like, there's some stuff that they had to add. Like, it was neat that I would be able to go, that scene there was filmed in Murfreesboro, not Decatur. Like, they would use a soundbite or something.
Yeah.
And they would show a clip. And it would be like they had to add it. Just like the American Royal Open, when they talked about Harry falling asleep in all the drunks, and they showed that guy yell at him, "Dodgers suck." Right. Well, that Dodgers suck came from Dover, Delaware, not from the Royal. But it's just neat to see how they like, the whole story's there. 95% of the story is legit. They just has to add little bits and pieces just to make the thing flow. And that's where it got neat. Like, nothing. I saw everything. Nothing was scripted. Like, as close to scripting you could get would be, like, you and I are having this conversation right now, and it's flowing, and we're talking about barbecue. Right. And one of the producers would come up and say, "Hey, let's stop this conversation in its tracks till the camera crew comes over here, because that's very interesting." And then you'd be like, "Oh, okay." But there was nothing. Like, they would always ask, like, "When are you taking your ribs off?" At 10 o'clock. Okay, at 9:55, they would show up and be like, "Okay, do your ribs." And then maybe they'd say, "Could you lift the lid up again so we could get a better shot?" But there was nothing redone or scripted or faked at anything. Like, people thought the Johnny Triggs fight was fake. It wasn't. I witnessed it from the beginning to where we almost physically escorted that guy out of the site, and they didn't show half of that. Like, that guy was wasted, and he came over to pick a fight because of all the TV cameras. You know, we had it at the Royal, and it's just none of it was scripted. It was all what you see is what you got. Like, there's some fancy editing they did, but what you see is what you got. And
the fancy editing is done to work up certain angles that they want to play up for that particular show.
Exactly. And it's any TV show does that. You have to have some sort of story. Look, cooking a brisket for 18 hours, you and I both know how boring that is. You know? You put it in and maybe spray it every now and then, but, you know, do you want to sit around and watch a guy drink a can of beer for, you know, you got to make up some kind of story.
Right.
You know? There's not a lot of excitement in, you know, between 11 o'clock and unless you're one of the party teams. So, you know, like the Myron cussing, that was a little bit for TV, you know. I've seen enough and hung enough around with Myron to say he's one of the sweetest men I've ever met, and I even saw him cry on stage at the last episode, you know, at the Big Pig Jig. And
actually, you know what, Gary? I have audio of that. I think that was him, right? That was it, right?
That was it.
Yeah, well, I mean, inevitably, whenever I have somebody on from the cast, I mean, everybody wants to be talking about Myron Mixon, and, you know, he's a douche, and he's a dick, and he's swearing all the time, and he's not, you know, he's probably the lightning rod that has single-handedly produced the comments, and I'm just generalizing here, but saying Barbecue Pitmasters is not properly portraying what competition barbecue is. And obviously, from what I'm gauging from you, that's actually not the case. He's not the cause of that.
See, but there's people are gonna like even I had haters, you know. I had haters after my episode because people felt I stabbed Harry Sue in the back and took all his recipes but you know, it's what you see on TV. You're either gonna love the person or hate the person. But until you get to know that person, you know, it's just your opinion. And it's TV. Like, you could hate, you know, the bad guy in the movie because he's a bad guy in the movie. But in real life, he's a nice guy. And you got to separate TV from reality. I think this show, get rid of everyone that does competition barbecue and get the mom and dad that don't barbecue, that have a gasser in the back and think putting ribs in a crock pot is barbecue.
Ugh.
That's, they're the ones who watch the show. And to me, that what we have is a good representation. You got the Harry Sues, you got the cocky people who aren't as good as they think they are, you got the loudmouths who brag a lot, you got the old timers that are the purists, you got the gourmet guys. It wasn't, you can't get, like, sure, they didn't have the drunks that party all night at competitions or the ones that, but I think they represented the cross-section pretty well to general America,
All right, so I'm going to have to backtrack with this question here, but I'm just getting inundated with the same one. Is it not correct to properly classify you as Harry Sue's pit bitch?
I was his pit bitch for 6 weeks. I have no shame. I was. And then I took what I learned as his pit bitch, and I used it against him.
All right, so, I mean, being a pit master of your own team and then going to another camp altogether that is not your team, how well did you like cooking with Harry for Barbecue Pit Masters? And was there any type of... was there any type of adjustment period that needed to take place for you guys to work together, or were you just doing what he said?
I had to do I had no cooking with him. He was doing all the cooking, and I was doing, like, you got 5 minutes left till turn in. I'll run to the store. He did all the cooking. I just observed and took notes, and he gave me less. Like, he would, like, teach me, and I'd, like, write, no, okay, it's interesting. You do it that way, and you do this way. Like any cook should do when you're talking to another cook, is take notes, and, but I did no cooking, and to me, that was the most annoying part because I'm a cook, and then I have to stand there and watch your temperature, and then that's why, like, I did Dover because I wanted to cook Dover, and then I cooked with Paul at the Big Pig Jig because I wanted to cook, and Harry was only cooking ribs, and I wanted to try a whole hog and shoulder, and I had offered to do that for Harry, but he didn't want to do that, so I went with Paul, just because, as a cook who loves to cook, who loves to compete, it got old quick standing around and watching.
He's Gary Notley from Notley Q. Website is notleyq.com, NOTLEYQUE, notleyq.com. So, I mean, it was your idea to strike out at Dover, or did TLC try to work up a little angle between you and Harry?
That was my 100%. When Harry gave me the original schedule, I looked at it and said, you know what, Dover, Delaware, that's as pretty East Coast as you can get. And where I live at the beach, so I'm as pretty West Coast as I could get. I talked to the people, and they said, send in your application. I put a call out on the Barbecue Brethren. Had some great people lend me the equipment I need. Jenny from Black Cat, Widespread Barbecue. And I told Harry that I'm going to cook this one. I became, after the first episode, like, I would hang out with the crew till they left the hotel and move on to the next city. And I started letting them know that I was going to cook this one. And then they developed the storyline out of it, which turned out great for me. But I only wanted to cook Dover because I wanted to cook a contest.
And there's no animosity between you and Harry, right?
I would drop what I'm doing right now, and I would cook, or I would drive another 10,000 miles from him again. Me and Harry are the greatest of friends.
All right, so let's go ahead and do this. Let's run down the cask. Obviously, you and Harry have a man crush with each other, so we don't have to worry about asking you about him.
Yep.
But let's go ahead and run down the cast here and kind of get your just your quick feelings about, or your quick reaction to the names, kind of like word association. Johnny Trigg.
He's very intimidating. He's a great cook, but anytime you see Johnny Trigg's name at a contest, you're like, damn it, all I'm going to do is get second. But the nicest people I've ever met, him and his wife.
Leanne Whippen.
She's a great cook. She's a pretty lady, and she's fierce and mean.
Is she really good? Is she a really good cook?
She is a really good cook.
Yeah.
I believe she has a perfect 180 in every meat that she has cooked at one time in her cooking career. And she is really good. Like, people, underestimate the power of that woman when it comes to cooking. And everybody will look at her and say, oh, she's so pretty and blah, blah, blah. And while you're admiring her beauty, she's kicking your ass at barbecue.
Did the douchebag boyfriend play any really kind of inhibit her success on the show, do you think?
I believe so, because I think he barbecued just because he was with her and he didn't have the passion. And he was just, I think he was just with her to be with her. I don't think he's a cook. And I think he really did inhibit her.
Myron Mixon.
I love the man. It was an honor to meet him. He is a fantastic cook. He's a true Southern gentleman. Get rid of all the cursing and the damn and the sons of bitch. But he is a great man. I took his cooking class. He's a genius. He's light years ahead of most people when it comes to thinking how to cook barbecue. He's a fantastic host. He's an all-around great guy. I have so much respect for that man.
Is he overrated at all, do you think?
No, not at all. If you look at what he's done in barbecue and where he places, he can talk that talk. There's a lot of guys that can't. I wish I had the trophies to back up, Like, I talk a lot of trash for some of the guys out here in California, but I'm not even in the same league as Myron Mixon. Like, when he let us look at his trophy room, it was the most incredible thing I've ever seen, just what he has won. And the trophies that he throws away, he has more trophies in his garbage than I have in my house.
Nice. Tuffy Stone?
What was that?
Tuffy Stone.
I've never met in any sport, any type of competition, good sport as Tuffy Stone. He goes around every morning, wishes every team good luck. He's a gentleman. He is a culinary genius. His mind for cooking is so open. He'll listen to anyone, a first-year cook or a cordon bleu certified chef. He's a fountain of knowledge, and I've never met a competitor in any sport as nice as him.
What do you think? And I'm going to have Tuffy Stone on the show next week in the regular 9 to 10 time frame. What do you think his interest was going from being like a classically trained French chef into barbecue? I mean, they seem like polar opposites.
I think how difficult everybody thinks that anybody can barbecue. And I think that he found it to be probably more difficult than the French culinary training because, that's especially competition barbecue, because you're going for that one bite. And I'm sure, that he figured the same as Paul, that this is going to be easy. But then to realize that, no, you have to do it this certain way first. Once you master the barbecue technique, then you bring in your culinary expertise and take it from there. Like, you can't come in as a culinary chef and going, I'm going to do this, that, and the other, and compete against some of these seasoned pros in the barbecue world. Like, you got to come in and do barbecue, then bring your culinary background in.
We're talking with Gary Notley from Notley Q. NotleyQ.com is his website. He was on TLC Barbecue Pitmaster. Just two more to talk about here. Jamie Geer.
Oh, my God. I've never laughed so hard in my life. Like, not only does that guy build a fantastic barbecue, but he has so many one-liners. Like, I forgot most of them. I wrote a lot of them down. I forgot how funny he was until that last episode. Like, the one-liners he would say, and with his Texas accent and his stories, had everyone in stitches. Where, like, that last episode at the Pig Jig, it reminded me how funny he was. He is the funniest man I've ever met.
Was it the line,
had it in stitches the whole time.
Looks like a dog shitting peach seeds?
Yeah, I'm shaking like a dog shitting peach seeds.
Yeah, one of the funniest lines uttered between that one and Johnny Trigg asking Tuffy Stone if he's going to wipe Paul's ass after he gets done parking that RV. Classic lines during that show. Now, in regards to Jamie, obviously one of the premier pit builders, and now that he's back into it more as a full-time gig before, all those years of mystery and how you get on the waiting list to get one and all that great stuff, and now you can, pretty much call up and order one and have one in a 6 to 8 week time frame or so. My take on Jamie, because I've never interviewed him here on the show. It's a shame, but I've talked to him off the air a few times on the telephone trying to hook something up. But I've talked to other people that know him. Probably one of the most underrated cooks, not only on the show, but probably in competition barbecue for people that don't know who Jamie Geer is as a cook.
I agree with you 100%. I didn't know who Jamie Geer was when I started Pitmasters. I'd never heard of him because he's been out of the competition for so long. And then I looked him up, and I was like, wow. And then to see what he did at the Big Pig Jig, it just proved he's a great cook. I tried some of his food, too, and it tastes delicious. But he's the OG of barbecue.
Yeah.
He's been, like everyone says, is Johnny Triggs. Jamie Geer is the OG of barbecue.
Yeah, I think actually when you talk to Johnny Trigg about competition barbecue cooks, he is probably one of the first ones to tell you how great of a cook, and he'll tell you how great a pit maker he is, but hands down a better cook than he is a pit maker. And I know Mike Davis from Laudable Barbecue thinks the same thing of Jamie. So, and
yeah.
Jamie was responsible for having revisions to the KCBS rules made because of how he was cooking and how he was winning. Back when KCBS was getting up and running and kind of gaining the steam as it grew now into the governing body and sanctioning body that it is today. So Jamie Geer, definitely a good guy, and from all accounts, one of the funniest guys out there on the face of the earth.
Yeah, he is. Like, if I could find one of my books, it's tucked away, and there's one night I'm like writing that down on napkins and on my hand, and like just to remember that stuff that he said, that I can pull that book out, my like little road diary, and read it again. But the Big Pig Jig episode was just like, I forgot how funny that man is. From the minute he gets up to the minute he goes to bed, he has you laughing the whole time.
Finally, Paul Peterson.
My boy, I love that guy. I wish people would cut him some slack. It really infuriated me seeing what people would say about him on the message boards because they don't know him. He is a young kid who is probably one of the best chefs that I personally know, and the food he creates outside of barbecue is some of the best food I've ever tasted anywhere in the world. He's a James Beard nominated chef. How he got on Pitmasters, I don't know. But I know this. He gave 100% every time. He came in, he was a stranger in a strange land, and he thought as a cocky gourmet chef that he could come in like anybody else would think that this is just barbecue, He didn't realize that how hard and difficult competition barbecue is, and he learned. And it was very embarrassing to him to come in last place every time. When you're a James Beard nominated chef, you don't come in last place. And he's managing running two restaurants in McKinney, Texas that are some of the best I've ever eaten at, and that this guy can't do barbecue chicken. And it's just he was learning, and what bugged me the most was I think it was awesome for us competition cooks to show the world that, hey, you could be the number one gourmet chef in America almost, and you still don't hold a candle up to these competition chefs, that we are not just a bunch of backyard idiots, that you consider us chefs. We have a culinary art, and we're good at it. And you just can't walk in off the street thinking that you're going to come with your sack of knives and your kit of spices and you're going to kick ass, because that's not how it is. And he learned that very, very quickly. But he is one of the nicest people I ever met. I hung out with him, and I told him that if he wants me to cook with him next year, I will cook with him.
Did the
Paul
show...
Peterson,
Go ahead.
Everybody needs to know Paul Peterson as a person and forget what they showed on Pitmasters.
Did the show cast him in a poor light because of how it was put together or how it was edited, or was his attitude really the biggest problem coming in, just assuming he was going to be able to wipe the floor with everybody?
See, when I met him in Mesquite, he didn't have an attitude where you know. And then when I hung out with him at other competitions, he never had an attitude that he was better than anyone else. He had, I'm a, you know, classically trained chef and this and this and this, but he never, to me, he never had where I'm better than you. Like, I came up and said, hey, do you need some pointers? Here's A, B, and C. This is what you have to do. He writes it down. Like, cool, thanks. I needed to know that, you know? Like, when he took Johnny Triggs' class and he was telling me what he learned, and it's like he wanted to learn. He wanted to do good. And at the end, he did good. But it was, I could never be cast. I would never let myself be cast in that light.
It seems, and I'm a viewer of the show, okay, and I don't know Paul. I've never had him on the show, but as somebody that watched it from start to finish, whether you can chalk it up to how the show was edited together and how he was put out, really, I mean, he and I would never say this. I would never cast this just a wide sweeping broom on anybody I don't know. I mean, I don't know Garrett, or I don't know Paul, so I would obviously give him the benefit of the doubt. But as a watcher of the show, I would never want to hang out with that guy. He seems like a complete douche.
I agree with you. I agree, and it annoyed me that that's how they portrayed him, because he is such a nice guy. He is so nice, and you know, I would drive from San Diego to McKinney, Texas, just to have a beer with that guy. And it bothered me, you know, because I hung out with him and got to know him and, you know, met his daughter and met his wife and became friends with him, that they're making him look like this. And people think that he is this douchebag when he's not. And then it's like, okay, that's reality TV. And, like, I didn't comment. I let people say what they wanted to say on the Brethren, that because that's their opinion. And I don't want to start a flame war, but as Paul being my friend, it hurt my feelings to have people think of him that way.
Yeah.
And I had only known him for a short period of time.
Yeah, I think.
But I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, so
like, I see that too.
You definitely think he's getting a raw deal for the whole thing.
I do, because that's not Paul, what you see on TV. You know, the Paul who got excited about, you know, learning from Johnny, that is the Paul. You know, the one that worked hard on the Royal when he learned from Johnny. You know, that's the Paul, not this douchebag, I'm better than you asshole that was portrayed on TV.
We're talking with Gary Notley from Notley Q. Again, his website is notleyq.com. Gary, bringing it strong, breaking down Barbecue Pitmasters in its entirety. And I've been really looking forward to this interview since we were able to really hook up and try and get this thing happening. Gary, thanks for coming on After Dark. And again, it's notleyq.com. Anything else that you want to promote, or any competitions you got coming up that you're going to be taking a part in that people can go get your autograph?
I'm going to be at Lake Havasu at the end of this month. Johnny Triggs will be there. So I'm looking forward. There's like 80 teams. I'm looking forward to take down all of them. I'm a new revitalized team in 2010. You know, Screw Branch beef. Everybody should be using that. Gringo Bandito hot sauce, and vote for Notley Q on the second season of Pitmaster. I hope everybody liked me in my episode, and I would love to be a character on season 2. I think you guys would all enjoy me.
All right, well, hopefully all that works out, and I'll keep tabs with you, and we'll see what's happening. Would certainly love to have you back on again here on the show, just to talk about barbecue in general, maybe throw you on a round table and talk about how to make beef and pork and stuff with some other competitors. But again, appreciate you coming on tonight After Dark, a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more loose, and talking about all of the TLC Barbecue Pitmaster stuff. I really appreciate it, Gary.
Yeah, it was awesome. Anytime you want, give me a call. I'm here for you. You have a great radio show. I'm a big fan.
Thanks.
And it was an honor to be on your show.
All right, Gary, take care. Have a great night.
Yeah, you too.
All right,
Bye-bye.
There he is. Gary Notley, if you need him. Notley Q. NOTLEYQUE.com. NotleyQ.com is his website. I thought probably one of the most honest, one of the more honest reviews of how the show actually went down. Certainly wasn't afraid to share opinions about the main cast members. So thanks again to Gary for joining me. Gotta love it. And that's going to do it for me. No more commercials. No more none of that. Thanks to all the people that jumped on Pal Talk, and we'll try and grow that potentially. Don't forget, you guys can use voice on that, too. You can raise your hand, and I'll bring you on. It's all good stuff. So we'll go from there. Thanks again to Gary Notley, everybody in Pal Talk, and everybody on the live feed for hanging with me after dark. We will see you back again next Tuesday for the regular Barbecue Central show from 9 to 10. Tuffy Stone coming on. Talk a little TLC as well. Also, we're going to be talking with my mom coming on with her monthly recipe segment, Connie's Recipe Segment. Everybody loves them. They're great recipes, easy to make, blah, blah, blah. Very cool. We will. Is there anything else I need to promote? Yeah, if you want 24/7 barbecue and grilling talk, it's BCRN, the Barbecue Central Radio Networks. The BBQCentralShow.com is the website. So check that out if you're in your office cube and you want some good barbecue and grilling talk. Sick of the same 6 or 7 songs being played on pop radio or Muzak. I got your hookup. It's Barbecue Central Radio Networks. Follow the show on Twitter at The BBQ Central Show. We're also on Facebook. We'll see you back here at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time next week. And until then, this is your program host and proud U.S. American, Greg Rempe. Good night now.